Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories, where today, Karen demands I produce YouTube videos for her. On Christmas Eve, my aunt dropped a holiday bomb on me, asking if I could script, film, and edit a video series about her family being the real Santa Claus family, with her husband taking on the role of Santa's son. No mention of payment, she just dove right into it. I pointed out that Hallmark had already done this several times, and besides, none of us had the time or budget for such a festive film project. I stressed that claiming our family as the real Santa crew would likely lead to ridicule, and I had zero interest in being the star of that show. Cue the holiday drama meltdown. She went ballistic, accusing me of denying her family's authenticity. She even threw in a line about letting me rot with my mother. It was confusing and a hurtful turn of events, leaving me alone in my house, shedding tears, trying to figure out how we got from point A to this. My aunt continued spewing nonsense at me, pushing me to my limit. When I said I needed a break until she could muster a proper apology, she insisted she already apologized. Yet, all she managed was a vague message in a family group chat that I rarely even look at, saying, "I'm sorry to everyone about how I've been acting. I'll do better." Not an apology in my book, more like the coward's way out. I took matters into my own hands and I aired the family grievances on Facebook, explaining what went down, how it left me feeling, and officially announcing that I was cutting her out of my life. I had to broadcast the saga to the rest of the family because they were pushing me to reconcile without knowing the full deck of holiday cards. I wasn't about to play messenger pigeon, explaining the drama one by one. And just when I thought I had unwrapped all the layers of this Christmas chaos, the entitlement bomb exploded. I initially believed her behavior was the result of a misunderstanding, but no, it turns out she intentionally stirred the pot. In a public comment visible to all, she dropped the bomb. I supposedly started it because I refused to help her write a book about our family. Plot twist, I didn't even know she wanted a book. She made it sound like a video series was the grand plan. So there you have it. My holiday season is now a mix of festive drama and unexpected plot twists. 'Tis the season for family feuds that make Hallmark movies look like a walk in the park. Am I the jerk for telling my roommate that either his pregnant girlfriend stops whining or he moves out? I, 28 male, live in an apartment that I got from my uncle. The apartment has 2 bedrooms, and since I don't need the extra space, I rented the room out. My roommate, male 24, has been living with me for a little over a year and a half. He's been dating his girlfriend, who's 24, for like 5 or so years. She lives in another house and has 4 roommates herself. As her house is more crowded, my roommate asked me if it was okay if she stayed over sometimes. I agreed since I don't really have a problem with it at all, as long as they're respectful. We haven't had any major issues until now. When his girlfriend got pregnant, he told me, and I was like, "Oh, great, congratulations." He did try to bring up a conversation to see if I would allow her to move in with us, but I said no. I work from home most of the time. I don't want to deal with a third person or a newborn in the future. He asked me if she could still come by and stay some nights as before, and I said that was fine. She's like 4 or so months along in her pregnancy. Well, these last 3 months, she's grown to be very annoying whenever she's staying over. What I mean is that I get woken up in the middle of the night and early morning too many times because she's running to the bathroom at the end of the hallway. I don't use that bathroom. I have my own connected to my room. But my guests sometimes use it, and they have said that it's dirty and messy. She's staying over a lot more nights than she used to before. And the biggest problem is that she's developed really bad nausea. Even now, she's still having morning sickness, which I believe they must have stopped already. We have many issues regarding food because my roommate and her asked me to stop having certain foods that make her sick. I told her that this is not her house. She has no right to come and expect me to change my diet because of her. They took that very badly. I continued my life as normal. She always complains and runs to the bathroom when I cook. There have been a couple of times when she's actually thrown up on the floor too, which is disgusting. I'm sick of it, to be honest. So I told my roommate that either she stops coming over, she stops complaining, or he moves out. I would give him a month or 2 if he needs it to find somewhere else to live, but I'm tired of having his girlfriend over. She's annoying me. He of course got very upset and said that she wouldn't annoy me so much if I were more understanding of her condition. Said that they're not in a comfortable position to move, that she's sick and needs his support and all of that. Some of my friends and coworkers and family are on my side, but others are saying that I'm behaving like a total jerk and I could easily change my diet for a couple of months. Am I the jerk? Edit. Y'all are right. I need to evict him. It sucks because even though we're not friends, he was a good roommate and all, but it's too risky to have him here when the baby is born. Hopefully they can find somewhere else to live. I'll try to have the conversation with him today. Consult a lawyer. There are definitely protections in place regarding housing discrimination for having a kid. It's his kid. This can be the baby's primary residence, even if she doesn't move in. Find out your rights sooner rather than later regarding not re-signing his lease or whatever, and it would be easier before the baby. OP. Actually, one of my colleagues also told me this, so I'm trying to find a lawyer already for all of the legal information I might need. I'm mostly struggling with the moral side of this whole issue. Not the jerk. She doesn't live there, and you've made it clear you don't want an infant in the house since you work from home. While I do agree you might be a little more accommodating while she's there, your roommate and his girlfriend need to move into their own space to prepare for the baby. They made a choice to get pregnant and stay pregnant, so they need to adult up and prepare for bringing another life into this world that they will need to support. I was going to say everyone sucks here until she threw up on the floor multiple times. That's nasty. While I know you can't control morning sickness, she should be able to make it to a bathroom or a sink or the trash can. Not the jerk, but you'd better evict him now. If you wait until the baby is born, what if he elects to have the kid live with him? You can't forbid that without violating fair housing laws. Evict him now so it's not an issue. Or roll the dice and take your chances, but then be ready to take what's coming to you. I told my wife that she couldn't do it without me. Turns out she can. I made one stupid, selfish comment to my wife a week or so ago, and now my life is in disarray. My wife is in some crisis. Her work is closed and she's being paid, but she's home with our kids now, including one 3-year-old. She gets breaks on Monday and Friday with childcare. We went into having kids knowing she wanted to be a working mother, so this has been an adjustment to say the least. On to the original fight. She spent a long day with our kids and the neighbor's kids, and when I came home from work and she asked for a break, I didn't respond well. I made excuses and didn't offer help, and for the first time in years, my wife lost her temper and cursed at me. Like an idiot, I dug in and thought I was right. I admit we both said some unkind things, but after Reddit humbled me and she made me sit down and write a list of things I did for the family that day and compared it with her longer list, I apologized. She accepted and I figured things would go back to normal. They haven't. My wife used to include me in parenting our kids. I did dance pickup most weeks and bedtime was split. I did baths, made dinner, all that stuff. Since our fight, my wife hasn't asked me for any help with the kids. The first morning I woke up on what was supposed to be my morning with the kids. I figured she was just being nice or trying to prove a point, but it keeps happening. She didn't even send them down to say goodnight last night. Normally, my wife does this silly game where she sends my son to ask me to read 5 books, and then we would negotiate down to 1 or 2 and race upstairs. Last night, I heard her racing him and came up to find her doing bedtime yet again. The kids haven't even noticed. It's like she's replacing me. When we were fighting, I said something really dumb that's living inside me and festering. My wife was being nasty and said, "You wouldn't see the kids a quarter as much as you do if I didn't arrange it and I'm done managing you." I defended myself. I'm not an absent parent and said something along the lines of, "I'd like to see how long you can manage without me." Consider my foot officially in my mouth. She started running again. She's cooking really healthy and often. Every night I come home to my perfectly happy Stepford wife doing it all without me, and I feel empty inside. How do I fix this? I don't even know where to begin. At this point, I want to beg her to go back to how things were. This wasn't what we agreed on. Edit. Okay guys, I get it. I'm a jerk. I'm going to make this right. And thank you to the handful of people that reached out with advice. Believe it or not, I do want to be a good father and husband. I royally messed up, and I see that, and I'm fully admitting it. This is going to be my only edit, and then I'm going to get off my phone for a while and focus on my family. My wife had dinner cooked when I got home. Everything is fine between us, so there wasn't any tension. After we cleaned up, I went upstairs and ran my wife a bath, put Taylor Swift on her Alexa, and lit a few candles. I told her to go relax upstairs for the night. She was surprised, but smiled and went on her way. I'm currently handling bath time. People mentioned love bombing, etc., but I'm just trying anything I can to show her I do appreciate and love her and our family, and I want to be a present father. I'm going to do bedtime tonight and probably all next week. I'll tell her she does so much during the day and deserves the break because it's the truth. I get that I come off as a jerk. I grew up in a not great situation and didn't have the best role models growing up. I'm terrified of my kids not having enough, and I overcompensate by working too much. This new job came with a big pay increase, but the hours are longer and I feel like I can never keep up. I reached out to a few recruiters tonight. I used to love my job and was always home by 4:30, even if it means taking the lost income. I'm thinking about going back. Relationships are hard and humans aren't perfect. For all the people telling me my kids don't love me and I'm a waste of space, I don't know, guys. Just remember I'm an actual person. That crap is rough. Anyways, that's all I have for you folks. Stop waiting for your wife to ask for help with your kids. If you're an active parent, you shouldn't need to be asked to help. It's a combined responsibility. Also, talk to your wife. She's rightly upset because you're treating the kids as her responsibility that you help when asked. Be proactive. Stop taking her for granted. Find out what you need to do to make amends. You absolutely are an absent parent if the only time you do things is when she asks or when she actively includes you. It's not her job to tell you when and how to be a parent. If you were an active parent and spouse, you wouldn't be posting this on Reddit. I take it you still haven't apologized. So to summarize, your wife is done telling you what you need to do, so you turn to Reddit to tell you what to do. Your wife deserves better. She deserves a husband that doesn't want to be told what to do, how to be a partner. She deserves a husband that doesn't wait to be told what to do, how to be a partner, how to spend time with the kids. You wrote lists of what each person does. You've noticed with your own eyes the stuff she has done without you. Perfect. Take her list and do all of those activities before she can. If she starts doing something on the list, look her in the eye and tell her that you'll do it. She deserves to be treated like a partner, and you appreciate all the other times she has done it without being told thank you. You also need to continue apologizing. Nothing to add, but I hope your wife divorces you. You come on here whining you don't know what to do. She told you, be an active parent. You shouldn't have to be told what to do with your kids. Be a parent, take initiative. If she's begging for a break, that's a huge red flag. Good for her for cooking healthier and running. She's practicing for when she's a single parent and managing alone. My wife told her friend she doesn't love me more than her ex and that I was her second option. I'm 33, male. My wife, Sarah, who's 32, is the love of my life. She's a woman of charm, grace, beauty, and accomplishment. I met her through mutual friends 6 years ago who thought that we'd be a good fit. At first, Sarah didn't seem too impressed with me, but as we chatted, she warmed up to me and we even exchanged numbers. We went on a date and had an amazing time that turned into another date, which turned into us dating and then eventually getting married. Sarah is such a warm, caring person who helped me through some tough times and was always there to pick me up, dust me off, pat me on the back, and help me forward. I thought she would be the woman I'd raise a family with and grow old together with, but maybe this isn't the case. Last week, I was clearing our driveway from snow when I came back in the house to go to the restroom, and I overheard a phone conversation between Sarah and a friend of hers. Our house is very echoey, and I don't think she realized I was in the house because she thought I was still clearing the driveway. Recently, her friend broke up with her long-term boyfriend because she didn't feel like they were a long-term match. That's when Sarah said, unprompted, and I quote because it was burned into my brain, "I mean, it's a good thing you did this now. You don't want to end up with your second or third option like I did." I swear I thought she was joking, but from the tone of her voice, I could tell she wasn't. Something told me to pull out my phone and record, so I did. The conversation continued with her saying, "He's not the love of my life, but I do love him." And I guess the worst part that she said, "If Paul," her ex, "wasn't so terrified of marriage, I'd probably still be with him." She did conclude by saying that she really did love me, but it wasn't head over heels love, and that she thought I was a great husband and would be a good father someday. I have this all on recording. I was confused and flustered in that moment and forgot I had to go to the restroom, so I went back outside to continue clearing the driveway. Inside, I was destroyed. I felt like a zombie just going through the motions. When I finished up, I went back inside and I finally looked at her and I just felt empty. She smiled at me, but I didn't give her one back. She asked me what was wrong, so I just told her I felt sick. That night, I just stuck to myself and didn't say much. The next day, over some beers, I asked my best friends in the world, who are 33 and 34, what they thought about the recording, and they immediately said to divorce. My friend Ashley, 34 female, said, "If a woman admits that she doesn't love you more than her ex, there's nothing more to say." A day later, I brought this to my sister and parents, who took the opposite approach. They said I should listen to her words carefully and that she said she does love me, that she chose to commit to me, and that even though I'm not her soulmate, I shouldn't take commitment and an admission of love so lightly. I've been faking being okay at home, and I don't think I can keep this act up much longer. She's been extremely suspicious since that day and constantly asks me if anything is wrong. I have no idea what to do, but I know I need to make a decision soon. Can you guys see anything here that I can't? Should I give Sarah a chance? Do you think she really loves me? You need to sit her down and say, "Sarah, I heard you on the phone the other day. I came in from clearing the driveway and I couldn't help but overhear you tell your friend that I wasn't your first choice and I'm not the love of your life and that you'd still be with Paul if he wasn't shy of marriage." And that's it. That's all you say. You don't mention the recording. You let her do all of the talking and then you head out somewhere for a few hours and think about whether her explanation makes any sense to you. Then you can think about what comes next. You should be honest with her. You overheard her. Don't give her the recording, keep that for yourself. In my opinion, if it were based on me, it's not worth it to be second choice or option for anyone. I refuse to settle. Some people, I suppose, don't mind it, the way your wife is. But yeah, I wouldn't do that. And you deserve to be first, also as in, not second choice. If you do stay with her, you have to be aware that this is how she truly feels about you. I'm not saying that her love will not grow, etc., but she did regret settling down with you as you heard. It's just sad to know that if Paul ever stepped back into the picture, her true love, and said, "I messed up, let's get married," she would drop you like a sack of potatoes. Everyone everywhere is trying to get with someone that they think is a little above their pay grade. Girls generally have more options than guys do. This scenario, I would think, is statistically likely with every girl you'll ever meet. As a woman, I can honestly say that lots of us never really get over our first love. That kind of naive love where you throw everything into the relationship, really think you're going to spend the rest of your life together, and feel completely head over heels. Then it suddenly comes to an end because the guy, for her, doesn't want to commit. It's really hard to get over that, and you carry it with you forever. Everyone has got a Paul, and not many people stay with their Paul forever. I'm 36 and still think about my first experience. It ended badly and damaged my entire outlook on life. I've never been able to fall completely in love again in the same way because I got hurt. There's a little wall now which makes me incredibly guarded and not really willing to trust anyone completely or imagine a future without thinking about what could go wrong. I think very carefully about men I'm attracted to and take my time to figure out what goes on beyond that initial attraction. I know for a fact that most of my female friends look back and think about their first experience of love with rose-tinted glasses as it's the only one they were so blissfully unaware of the feeling of hurt. There's only one chance you get to throw yourself fully into a love story, and if it doesn't work out, it just shatters that Disney-type trope we all grew up with and thought was real. After that, women either learn the lesson and look for a more stable partner, or they do the opposite and continue to interact with bad boys. We can spend hours discussing partners and relationships and any prospective partner's pros and cons with our friends. There's nothing wrong with you. Your partner loves you, she said so herself, but she's also thought deeply about the relationship and thinks that beyond love, there's companionship and more. She's been hurt and let down and doesn't want to feel that way again. She thinks you're a great person and has chosen to commit to you and build a future with you. It goes beyond love when she trusts you and feels safe and secure with you. My dog ate all of my girlfriend's shoes. My girlfriend just moved in with me a couple of weeks ago. My dog is pretty well trained, but shoes are his weakness. I've tried everything to get him to stop chewing on shoes, but ultimately I decided to just not leave shoes laying around anymore and always put them away. This worked well when I lived on my own, but the closet at the front isn't big enough for all of my girlfriend's shoes, so they've been sitting in bins since she moved in. She's on vacation with her friends right now, and I made her a nice walk-in closet/makeup room off of our bedroom as a surprise since there wasn't enough closet room in our house for both of our stuff. I brought all of her shoes up yesterday to try and figure out the shelving spacing, and I forgot to put the lids back on the bins before I left for work. I got home this morning to find every single shoe she owns completely destroyed by my dog. Only a couple of shoes look like they could be fixable, but there isn't even one pair that remains wearable. My dog was quite proud of himself. My girlfriend is the type of person who's very methodical with her clothing and shoes. Everything she owns has been carefully selected, brands have been researched thoroughly, and she takes immaculate care of her things. That is to say that they are all pretty expensive, $100 to $500 per pair, and in perfect condition. There's over 30 pairs of shoes. I've estimated that the cost of replacing the ones I can find new online at $6,000, and that doesn't include some of the brands that I don't recognize and can't find online, or some that are no longer being sold. I'm not really sure where to go from here. I was able to find around 20 pairs of the shoes online in the exact style that she had, and I'm wondering if I should order those now and hope they can get here before she gets home. Obviously, there's no hiding this, but I'm wondering if it would make her feel a bit better to at least have some shoes to choose from. I'm pretty sure that if I told her to go spend the amount and damage on new shoes, she wouldn't, because we're saving up to buy a new house, and she'd rather put the money towards that. But I know she would be sad about not having all the choices that she had had before. Any advice? What you actually need to do is not about the shoes. What you need to do is find a way to train your dog not to destroy her shoes, or else to show her that you found a way to keep the dog away from the shoes. The shoes can be replaced, and obviously doing so or offering to do so is a very nice gesture. But I think the important thing here is showing that you want to solve the problem. Like you said, you're saving for a house, so you can't afford to consistently replace shoes, rather than coming up with a more permanent solution. OP: yeah, I know. I, for some reason, can't train him out of it. I can only discipline him if I catch him chewing on the shoes, and he'll only do it when I'm not home. So the solution was to keep them locked away. That's one of the reasons I built the closet, but since the door wasn't fully installed yet and the bins were open, he had full access. But once it's finished, it shouldn't be a problem, as long as we remember to close the door. Update: the general consensus from the first post was that I should buy a few key pairs before she gets home, so I decided to go with that. It was hard because where we live, we are transitioning from winter to summer, so I had to buy winter boots, rain boots, sandals, runners, and various types of work shoes. Only about half of them arrived before she got home on Friday. I wish I could have bought them in person so I could have been certain that they would be here, but I wasn't able to since winter stuff is out of season and lots of the brands she likes are only available online. Friday, I picked her and her friends up from the airport. When we got a second of alone time, I told her about the shoe situation. She was upset initially. She wasn't mad at me or our dog, but more mad that it happened. I decided not to tell her about the awesome closet that I built her while she was gone, and just hoped that the surprise would soften the blow. On the car ride back, she told her friends what happened, and they really helped turn it into a positive event that she could laugh about. She would only get sad when she remembered shoes that she spent a long time breaking in. Apparently, her Birkenstocks took 2 full summers before they reached max comfiness, so that was what she was the most sad about. I felt awful about that. I actually took those ones to a cobbler because I knew she would be the most upset about them, but they couldn't be salvaged. They were too far gone. When we got home, she wanted to see the carnage. I wasn't sure it was a good idea because I was kind of expecting her to cry, but she just thought it was funny. She had me make a small pine casket for the shoes while her and her friends got absolutely blasted, and we buried them in the backyard that night. She did cry briefly, but she was a trooper nonetheless. Her friends decided it was only fair for me to purchase every pair of shoes she wants for the rest of our lives, and I drunkenly agreed. A decision that I'm sure will cost me a small fortune, but I stand by it all the time. Over the past few days, she's ordered all of the shoes she needed to replace the ones she lost. She only reordered around 10 pairs that she previously owned, so it was a good thing I didn't go ahead and reorder them all. She already had a Pinterest of every pair she wanted and had deemed to be worthy of her collection, which made it a fairly quick process. All in all, it cost us around twice what I had anticipated, but she didn't break up with me, so I'll call it a win. I'm just glad I was able to afford it. I couldn't imagine how awful it would be to be in the position without being able to pony up. It's going to set me back a few months on buying an engagement ring, but I'm sure that won't be an issue. For everyone concerned about the dog, she isn't worried about getting him trained more because he behaves perfectly otherwise. She said if anything, I need to be trained not to be a careless idiot. Joking aside, it was a fluke, and we're usually very good about keeping the shoes put away. I made the doors to her closet and our front closet self-closing so we would never need to worry about leaving them open. Like my girlfriend, the poor guy can't resist shoes, so we don't really blame him for what happened. In fact, we're quite proud that he managed to accomplish this in 12 hours that I was away. Karen posted a rude TikTok of my mother, so I got her fired. May sound implausible, but setting, coffee shop in small town America, Most people know each other, so not really that out of the ordinary. There's a nice indie cafe a few blocks from my house, which I, 28 male, go to a couple of times weekly. Servers all know me. This month, I had my mom with me, her visiting the US for the first time. Mom spent all her life in a Southeast Asian country. Her English is not good, etc. Anyway, I go to work one day last week. Mom wanders over to the cafe. I get home that night, ask Mom how her trip to the cafe was. She says it's nice, told me what she got, and oh no, I forgot she doesn't know about tipping here. Where she lives, there's a large service charge included, so you don't really tip in eateries, and definitely not in small ones. Completely my bad, and entirely my fault for forgetting to inform her. I ask her which server. She describes someone I know as Jane, around 25, female. I go to the cafe the next day. The minute it opens, I see Jane is working, and I apologize profusely. Explain that my mom doesn't know about tipping and give her a 70% tip. Bill came up to around $10, so it really wasn't breaking the bank. She's understandably slightly cool, but I apologize to the best of my ability. I thought that was that. No, 2 days later, a colleague texts me a link to a TikTok. Jane apparently has a sizable TikTok following where she talks about being a barista, her customers, how to make X or Y drink. Nice stuff. Except a video from the day my mom visited, where Jane videoed the back and side of her head, made jokes about people coming over from who knows where and not tipping because it's man-eat-dog world out there. Quietly barked on video. She didn't seem to notice it was at her. Lots of shares and likes and comments, by the way. Gave her the benefit of the doubt. Went over the next day and politely asked her to take it down. She said no, it's her right, and it was her degrading experience. Manager comes over. Jane tells the tipping part and that she made a video out of desperation and she wouldn't take it down. I tell manager that I came back, apologized, tipped her 70% and explained my mom didn't know. I showed her the TikTok and manager's face changes. She doesn't discipline Jane in front of me, but from what I hear, she was let go immediately. Now her mother is posting on her own and my Facebook, as well as hinting on the community Facebook group about certain people not respecting servers and causing Jane to be fired. Several people, many who don't know the whole story, are agreeing with her, even discussing setting up a collection. Almost total belief that I am the jerk. No mention of TikTok. Am I the jerk? Should I have dragged my 70-year-old mom in to apologize to Jane? What exactly can I do now? Won't fix the ramp, but give me the ability to close it? Okay then. A few years ago, I ended up working at a remote work site. The crew I worked with had multiple jobs, one of which was unloading the truck that came in once a week with all of the site's food. The unloading area was at the back of the kitchen and hadn't been designed well originally. It was an uneven gravel ramp which led up to a roughly 4-foot loading dock. In an ideal world, the truck would be able to back up to the loading dock and the job would be reasonably easy. However, the ramp also wasn't very wide. There was a dog leg in the run up to it, and also the truck would be at an angle, so moving the pallets of food would be tough. So the workaround was to have a forklift take the food from the truck, drive up the gravel ramp, and drop the food on the dock. When I first got there, we had a forklift operator who had worked with a forklift for years. He was good, like really good. He made it seem easy. This wasn't my first job working around forklifts, and I really appreciated how good this guy was. I'm not sure how many others, especially management, realized that he made this short but tricky run in the forklift look way easier than it actually was. He left, and management scrambled to get another guy licensed to drive the forklift. This guy didn't have the experience, and he struggled. He lost a load off his forks at one point, and it was kinda scary. He was a yes man, and there weren't many other options, so he persevered. A lot of us were worried it was just a matter of time before he tipped the forklift over the edge of the ramp. The solution would have been to redesign the ramp, or at least pave it. The gravel was a large part of the problem. It was a little thick, so the tires would spin, a bit off kilter, and it would develop potholes. The forklift needed to get a run up to carry speed up this ramp. That's how bad it was. We complained, but the company didn't want to do anything because they were building a new kitchen on the other side of the camp. So this one was going to be decommissioned. However, there had been zero work done on the new kitchen in the 3 to 4 months I'd been there. This remote site was in Australia, and they have some pretty strict health and safety laws there. Companies will often have you fill out cards every day of what we saw that was maybe dangerous. I filled out one for this ramp every single week we had to use it, but they didn't do anything. The system was really there to cover themselves, i.e., you knew it was dangerous, it says here on the card, so why did you keep doing the thing? While also expecting us to keep doing the thing. How else were we going to get the food inside? However, one of the other rules pretty much gave the right for any employer to tag out something that isn't safe. The company can't overrule this, as if they do, and then something happens, it's on them. These tags are normally used with machinery, i.e., the machine is broken, can't be used until it's fixed. The tag-out system is not really designed for an area. Cue malicious compliance. The ramp is broken/dangerous. I decided I'm going to tag it out. I collected some cones and ropes and tagged it out. Went straight into the office to tell management what I did. Their faces were priceless. They had a week to come up with a solution, as I did this immediately after we had unloaded the weekly food drop. At first, they told us that from now on, we'd have to walk the boxes of food up to the storage areas. This was obviously an attempt to turn the other crew members on me. However, the cooks stopped that idea in its tracks. The weather was hot, the majority of the food was chilled or frozen. We were only so many. There would have been a lot of food waste. So after a day or so, they got to work putting in a paved path for the forklift. It was the bare minimum they would do, because they were building a new kitchen. But apparently it cost them $7,000 and pulled guys away from other duties to do it. Needless to say, I was not a popular person, and I heard that some of management wanted to fire me, but there was nothing they could do. I left 2 months later anyway. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.